It is so...
Welcome back, boys and girls, to the Hey BigHead Show, the official podcast of Las Vegas.
Okay, stop.
Newly anointed official podcast.
No.
Vegas Local. They voted as the Hey
Vegas
BigHead
Local
Show.
did?
Yeah, VegasLocal.com voted for the Hey BigHead Show to be the official podcast of Las Vegas.
Vegas podcast of Vegas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here again. Heather, we have a new addition to the couch here.
I know, my new favorite person in Vegas.
Possibly my new favorite lawyer of Las Vegas is the one and only Meesha Moulton.
I'm working hard on taking that spot there.
You're so dumb.
Meesha, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, yeah. If people recognize you, but maybe they can't put a finger on it, you're on every billboard here in Las Vegas.
I know, I see your billboard, maybe because you're my friend now, but I see your billboards a lot.
I have them strategically spread out through the valley.
Good for you.
That's good.
There was a really funny story the other day. I texted her as I almost got in a car accident.
Meesha, get in front of that microphone, by the way. I don't want to miss a word above this.
Oh, okay. So what happened was I was driving down the street and someone was pulled over by a cop in front of Meesha's billboard. And I'm trying to snap a photo of it, but my phone wasn't like doing it quick enough. And I almost like swerved into a lane. I was like, let's not get in a car accident trying to take a picture of Meesha's billboard with the person getting pulled over, because that just seems like a full circle moment of not goodness where I'm going to need her.
You would have had to call me.
Yeah.
Be like, well, it was my fault.
Too funny.
Let me explain to the lawyers in the courtroom how I got in an accident because I was trying to take a picture of a billboard.
She was trying to get me some marketing content.
Yeah.
I love that. She's dedicated. For all those businesses out there that are debating on whether they should hire Heather, there's a clear reason as to why you should.
I will get in a car accident for you.
Please don't do that.
I'm just kidding.
Please don't do that. Yes, we're excited to have her here. If we touch back on last week's episode, Heather, you talked about Bojangles quite often. I don't know if you noticed that. There was a social media post that I had just happened to make, and I counted the amount of time.
How many times I say it?
I think it was like, overall, I didn't get all the Bojangles in that post, but I think it was close to 20. In a 40-minute
And you
episode.
just like saying Bojangles. Isn't that a fun word?
It is a fun word. And I was saying, I actually just finally learned that it's a chicken place.
What did you think it was?
I had no idea, but I saw your guys' episode and like, it reminded me of this song from like 15 years ago. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I'm like, I have heard Bojangles in a song. Well, it was the Yin Yang Twins, Salt Shaker.
Salt Shaker by the Yin Yang Twins.
They talk about Bojangles, and I had no idea what Bojangles was for all these.
I wonder if that's where they got the name Bojangles.
I don't think so. I think Bojangles was there before the Yin Yang
Twins
Twins.
are silent investors of
Bojangles. I mean, that would make sense.
Partnered with Trick Daddy. That could be.
Yeah.
It's funny. My family's slowly starting to listen to the Hey BigHead Show, and that's how you know we're kind of on the right track. Is when your family starts seeing, okay, let's check to see what they're up to.
Yeah.
My mom wanted to listen to the Leia Falcon episode, and I told her absolutely not. Do not listen to that.
Oh yeah. Don't watch that, Meesha.
Meesha can absolutely, but
No,
anyways,
please don't.
Don't.
You're gonna look at us in a different way. You're looking at Andrew in a different way.
Maybe now I'm gonna have to go watch it.
I think anybody that's
Maybe
listening that
curiosity
hasn't
is
heard the
right.
Leia Falcon episode should absolutely.
She's an AVN award winner.
The Adult Video Network.
What was her award for,
No,
Heather?
well,
It was the most outrageous scene.
the most outrageous scene, and
You can go to the episode to see what she did in that scene to win the award.
I'm 100% watching this now.
go for it.
We have a new subscriber today.
That episode, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly.
And then
what
go
I'm
back and watch
talking
Leia's
about.
clip and see the two correspond with each other.
Yeah.
So anyways, my cousin reached out to me this morning, actually. And verbatim, he said, yo, dude, I just heard the podcast with the Bojangles one. My good friend is the VP of development for Bojangles. She appreciated the love.
And I said, "Where's my gift card? Where's my sponsorship? Where is my free iced tea for life?"
We don't need a gift card to Bojangles.
I do.
We don't
I
need
do.
any additional reason to go to Bojangles more than we already do.
I love their okay, Meesha, I will bring you one of their Arnold Palmers one day and their chicken. I will bring you lunch one day because it was so good.
Oh, I can't wait.
It was
for
very
this.
good.
It was so good. Their peach, you didn't like it. Their peach pepper dipping is like the best.
Can I say two things that I would like to see changed about Bojangles?
Sure.
Which again, I've
They're perfect. They don't need change.
I've had them again, and I would agree they are the best chicken spot in town. Two things I would change is the lines are still too long. They're so long.
I know Brian let us know that he waited 45 minutes the other day.
Brian,
At 9 a.m. to get your chicken, dude. 9 a.m.
It's just open or something?
It just opened on Blue
Okay.
Diamond and Rainbow, but
Okay.
I've been going at 9 a.m. to get chicken because
Open at 9 a.m.?
yeah, because that's the only time you can go without there being a huge line.
Brian proved me wrong. I didn't think anybody would get fried chicken at 9 a.m., but apparently if you mix it with like chicken and waffles or something like that, it's an actual thing. So that makes sense.
I love
Yeah.
chicken and waffles.
And then
Very good.
the only other thing that I would say is the Vegas Bojangles, they got to up their game with the social.
Oh yeah, their social media sucks. Hire me. I'll get paid in gift cards.
Get paid in Bojangles.
Give me the gift cards of Bojangles.
Hey,
I will
Heather,
do your social
Bojangles.
media.
They've been open since January 20th, and they only have 6 posts, and they haven't even posted since
They're
they
too
opened.
busy
I
serving
mean,
us
I was
chicken.
going to say, if they've got a line wrapped around the building, they seem to.
Clearly, they're doing
Oh,
something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yes, when the honeymoon phase dies down, hire Heather Marie to be your social media connoisseur,
Yeah.
and she'll get that going again. But yeah, shout out to Bojangles.
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 Bojangles. I just like saying it. Bojangles.
Bojangles. Bojangles Brian. What else? I saw the Bob Dylan movie the other day. That was a
Have you
really
seen
good
that?
movie.
No, I haven't.
We should go see it because Andrew went without me.
We should do a big head outing to go see the Bob Dylan movie. It was real. I wasn't a Bob Dylan fan, but I think I am now.
Really?
Yeah. It was
Was it Timothy Chalamet?
Shamalama.
Oh, he's great.
Do
He
you like him?
Yeah, he was in Justified.
was he?
Yeah, the TV show about
Yeah.
the U.S. Marshal for a while.
Was
It's
he?
a really good one.
He also was dating Kylie Jenner.
He's living as he
Well, okay, no, this is the wrong one.
You're thinking of
Yeah.
Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
gonna say he would be a little young for that show.
Yeah,
He played
no.
Timothy
he's
Chalamet played Willy Wonka
the Dune guy.
Dune, yes.
Yes.
The Dune
okay.
guy.
and Willy Wonka.
Both. Justified's a great show, and Dune's a great movie. But yes, I just said yes because I'm thinking of Timothy Chalamet.
I actually have a topic for you guys today.
What's that?
So I saw this study recently that I think they did overseas, in Europe, where they let employees only work 4 days a week. And you guys both have employees. I'm just an employee. And it said they let their employees work for 4 days a week and they saw an increase in business and happier employees. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Owning businesses with employees.
I'll go first. I hate it. With
Why?
a passion, I hate it.
Why?
Because I feel like
Don't work for Andrew. He will make
I
you
feel
work
like
like a dog.
America is becoming too soft. Put in the hours, put in the work,
No.
go to the office. I understand that ever since the pandemic, people enjoy working from home. They have more distractions at home. Sure, they may be getting the same amount done. I don't believe that.
I feel like I am more productive if I know I have the full day off and I could just lay in bed and just edit all my stuff. Like-
Maybe I'm just the old school type of thinking then, but I think the 5-day work week still should be a thing.
But it's obviously proven no, because overseas they did it and it worked out really great. So obviously you're wrong.
Am I though?
The European lifestyle is just so different than what we have over here in North America. So it's like hard to say that something that's successful over there would be successful over here. I do think that we could learn a little bit from them when it comes to the whole work-life balance. They really, we basically live to work.
Yeah.
And I do think that, eventually some kind of change in that aspect. But, I do agree. I think after COVID, it ruined certain aspects of the whole work from home thing. Working remotely, I don't think is very effective. And it also depends on business needs. Like I definitely don't have the ability to be.
I was going to say, you can't really just go sit at home and go to the courtroom from home.
And I mean, I don't really have the ability to just, shut down the firm on any given Friday and just say, okay, guys, I mean, I definitely give my staff time off, extra time off around the holidays.
Sure.
And, do I feel like that's effective for me business-wise? Probably not. But does it help them out? Yes.
What
So
type of law do you practice?
I am personal injury and immigration.
Were you in Vegas during the pandemic?
Yes. Yeah.
What was it like dealing with courtrooms where you couldn't actually go in? Were you doing Zoom calls? during
Did they
that time?
didn't they push back a lot of
Yeah.
court cases?
So everything kind of got rescheduled and pushed back. So there really was no court for a long period of time. And, it was just like this unprecedented situation of everything kind of shut down. So it's like people weren't on the roads as a result of people not being on the roads. There was
Sure.
no car accidents. So it was
That's a
just
good
kind
point.
of, yeah. So we really were still open and operating, but the business had just kind of dwindled down to nothing for that while.
That's crazy. That's a very good point. How the personal injury side of things, I guess, business.
I
would be a
mean,
little
everything
slower
has a,
before
what
on
was
the
it
road.
called? Like a trickling effect. Like
Mhm.
COVID happened, and then like there's some jobs that just could not go. Like you could not do your job. Like the shows on the strip. Like I know so many performers. The girl that made me those cupcakes. Did you see those cupcakes that were like look like beautiful flowers?
Yeah, those were amazing.
She was a dancer in a show on the strip, and she lost her job, and she's like, I got to do something to make money.
Yeah.
So that's how she started that business, and now that business is booming. And so she does that. I feel like a lot of people learned a side hustle. And now a lot of people have a job and a side hustle. I got better at social media, and that's my side hustle. So I feel like the pandemic really kind of fast forward a whole work from home aspect. Like now I could do my radio show from home, which is mind blowing to me. But I can imagine for someone who's a lawyer, that must have really just put a whole halt on a lot of business.
Yeah, and then the issue kind of becomes is like if your side hustle is doing so great that you don't necessarily need a full-time job,
Sure.
perfect. But if you still need a full-time job, then it kind of ruins that, work environment where people kind of have that
Yeah.
need to want to be home and have that flexibility. And, everybody wants to be an influencer.
Hey.
And I just I just need you to come in and work 9 to 5.
Misha,
Give
have you
me
ever
your best effort?
have you ever recorded yourself doing a TikTok dance before? Be honest.
Absolutely not.
Not yet. Heather has. Heather has.
Oh yeah, that's embarrassing.
We'll save that for a future episode.
We'll
I
save
mean,
that
I've
for never.
recorded TikToks, just none of them that involve dancing.
You do have good social media, and I like how active you are, and I'll definitely.
Her social media is very clean. You got to go to her office. She's got a whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like dark colors. It's like a total vibe. Like if I had a law office, it would look just like hers. It's
Did you
beautiful.
style your office yourself?
I did. I love interior design, and I definitely, I think my style kind of leans a little bit more on the masculine side. Like you're not gonna see anything
Mhm.
sparkly in my office,
That's
but
good.
so it definitely has like an aesthetic.
How often are you at your office?
A lot.
Yeah.
You can catch me there Monday through Friday.
9 to 5. She's not taking the 4-day work week.
I definitely not at the 4-day work week point yet.
That's
so.
good. That's good.
Her office is dope too. Like she sits on the 215.
Yeah.
So like her view is like the freeway. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of funny because like you're just waiting for
I'm just
accidents.
yeah, looking at potential clients
You-
driving by on
You
a
have your
daily.
binoculars out, just patiently wait.
Misha, you should get a sign like that that lights up. And then when you see an accident on the freeway, just turn it on so you can see it through the window.
Bat signal.
Bat signal, like, call me.
How long have you been practicing in Vegas for?
Since 2014. So that's actually when I moved here. And that's when I took the bar exam, and then I just waited to get licensed. And that all happened around 2015. So
What's the bar exam like? Is it
Is
the
it
hardest
hard?
thing you've ever done?
definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. So it is just, 2.5 months, depending on when you graduate, of just straight studying. And it's like I would start at 8 in the morning and go till 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Like
Jesus.
just, periodic breaks scheduled in. For me, structure works really well. So I know that, if I have a schedule and I know what I'm studying, and you're basically trying to take in 3 years of information within this 2-month period of time. And then you're still going into the test not knowing
Sure.
what they're going to ask.
Where'd you come before Vegas?
So I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. And then I went to law school at Michigan State. So I spent a few years in Michigan before I moved out to Vegas.
She has the most interesting moving out to Vegas story. Do you mind sharing it?
No, not at all.
I want to hear it. I want to hear this.
It's so fascinating. You're going to be like, wait, what?
So, a lot of people kind of ask me all the time, they're like, why Vegas? And I wish I had like some really cool reason why. But the fact of the matter is, I grew up in the cold. And then I went to school in the cold, and I was just over shoveling snow, cleaning my car, starting it for 15 minutes in the morning.
And then going back inside, getting your coffee.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, I want to go somewhere warm. California, just, very saturated, very expensive still to this day. So I was like, okay, how about Vegas or possibly Arizona? And I loved what Vegas had to offer. And I just, I think we're incredibly spoiled here with restaurants and entertainment. Things to do just never seem to end. So
It's like being on vacation all the time.
exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely can be. And there's so many different parts of Vegas too that you can go somewhere and have it not feel like Vegas, but still have it feel like you're in, this local area. And as I mentioned last episode, there's just so much talent and so many unique performers and people here. I love it. Without a doubt, Vegas is probably one of my favorite places I've ever lived because of the wide variety of lifestyles and talent that you have here. It's just so much fun. So if you're thinking about coming to Vegas and to live,
Doing. Shut the
come to Vegas. You're gonna love it.
shut the
Sponsored by Raised in Vegas. Do you not want
Not moving to Vegas. I was on the freeway the other day and literally there was traffic and I was sitting in traffic on the freeway. No accident, just traffic. And I was like, oh my God, it's turning into LA. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've never sat in traffic on the freeway ever. Ever.
Sitting in traffic a lot.
Exactly.
15.
There's been actually, you know what? I retract that statement. If you're thinking about moving to Vegas, do not move
Don't.
to
It's full.
Vegas. It's full.
I love
Try Utah.
traveling, but then I feel like I'm ready to come home.
See, I'm
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah.
You just miss the city. For some
Yep.
reason, you miss it.
Yeah.
You miss the nice weather. Like it's going to be 70 degrees a day and it's February. Great. People are living in the snow right now. Gross. So gross. Don't move here. It's very hot. Don't come.
If you could live anywhere else, Meesha, where else would you live?
Honestly, at this point, I don't think I would want to live in.
Yeah.
Wow, so you're a dedicated
You're
Vegas
life
local.
for now.
Yes.
Love that.
You would never move back to Canada?
No. I love going home and visiting. Like, I love Toronto. I think it's like one of the cleanest, safest cities in the world. And, it also has like an amazing restaurant scene, good education. There's a lot that it has to offer, but I am definitely dedicated to Vegas, and I just can't see myself really living anywhere else at this point.
Is the Vegas lawyers, the attorney scene here in Vegas, I know it's very competitive. Everywhere you go, you'll see an ad for some lawyer.
One time I saw a street and literally every billboard was a different lawyer.
Is
I was
it
like, okay.
is it cutthroat or is it healthy competition? Or
No, it's
somewhere in between?
very cutthroat.
Really?
Yeah, I think more so than ever now, it's very cutthroat. So, I will still have sometimes clients walking through my door that are represented by other attorneys. And, what I'm trying to always try to get to the bottom of is like, why do you want to fire your current lawyer and switch over?
Mhm.
And sometimes, majority of the time, actually, it's just like a miscommunication aspect and something that's like easily resolvable. So, I still like to do the old school thing and pick up the phone and send a text message and say, hey, like I have a client of yours here that's not necessarily happy. Maybe we can do something to fix this.
Really?
And that way, the client's not stuck paying two different attorneys.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening majority of the time, most people are not giving that courtesy back.
Yeah.
We'll just say, that. So
Why do you think people would choose Meesha Moulton's practice over anyone else here in town?
I think for me, it's one of those things where it's like I'm very involved. I meet with my clients and I'm very empathetic towards the situation. And then I really try to look at it in the sense of like they're not just like a cookie cutter case for me. So it's like I really try to tailor their case and their settlement to their
Needs.
situation. So I came from a high volume practice, kind of going back to, where I all started.
Sure.
And it was very much like a number system. And the process of it was just trying to get as many cases settled and as possible. And coming from that system, I was like, I just don't want to be able to do this with my practice. Like, I really want to take a more specialized, boutique approach where I know my clients, I know every case that's coming in
Sure.
through the door. And, I don't say yes to every single case because if I take your case, I'm taking it to win.
Right.
Yeah.
You moved here in 14. When did you open up your own practice?
So I opened up my own practice 2.5 years ago. It seems like it's been a lot longer
I
with
was about to say,
how
I feel
much,
like, yeah.
yeah, with how much it's grown, which I'm incredibly grateful for. The brand has really taken off, but it's only been 2.5 years. So I worked at the other firm for 8 years, and I started as basically like what was called a demand assistant. I was typing demands while I was waiting for my bar license, and then I started off as an associate attorney,
Okay.
managing attorney, and then the first ever partner at the firm. And that's
Congratulations.
kind of how I got my start.
Is there any similarities between real life and the show Suits?
so,
Which
so
I love.
Legally Blonde.
Or Legally Blonde, yes.
Is that all the same?
Which one is more realistic?
I think Suits definitely.
Oh, Legally Blonde's not real?
It's a little bit more realistic. I think so. It's like the glamorized aspect
Sure.
of the law, right? And let's just say everything that you're watching in that 60-minute episode is going to take years in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all these motions and mediations and negotiations that are happening, like they're making it seem like it's over the course of a couple of days. I wish.
Has there ever been a scenario where somebody comes in and just drops a folder on your desk and says, here's the way out, or here's how we win? And then you open it up and you quickly look at a sentence and you're like, oh, yep, that's right.
There are cases where obviously while you're doing research, you come across certain situations or cases where you're like, okay, this could really help speed things along, or this could be how we overcome, this summary judgment or something along those lines. But the short answer to that is no.
No.
I just sent Meesha a really funny video the other day. I guess Reese Witherspoon got pulled into jury duty.
Okay.
And I guess I didn't know this. When you're in jury duty, there has to be one person that's appointed in the jury as like the speaker of the jury.
Sure.
And she was appointed. Everyone just pointed at her like, we want you to do it. Because she was in Legally Blonde, they thought that she had knowledge. And I was like, I sent it to her and I was like, this is hilarious.
I just want it on the record that I never actually went to law school.
Because you're a lawyer, do you have to do jury duty?
I mean, I could definitely get selected for
Really?
jury duty.
You get like excluded from that?
I mean, chances of me truly getting selected probably slimmer
Because they're like,
yeah.
she's
But I mean, just like anybody else, I can definitely get called for jury duty.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I admittedly will say that I don't know much about U.S. politics prior to 2016 when Trump became president. Whether you love him or you hate him, if there's one thing that I can at least say that Trump did well is he got more people involved in politics than ever before.
I agree.
Kind of touching base on what you just kind of talked about with the immigration side of things. I saw you on TV the other day talking about
policies.
New policies are with ICE and everything.
I don't really know. By the way, if we say something wrong,
please call us out
because we don't really understand.
I can see your palms are sweating right now because you're like, I can't believe he's saying these things. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about. But explain to us, if you can, like we're five, what actually is going on with ICE,
the new policies,
policies that we have.
So there's been a lot of movement and there's been a lot of change, particularly with Trump coming in and signing a lot of these executive orders. And, some of them were able to kind of push forward right away, and then some of them not so much. So a couple of examples is, he's really pushing the mass deportation issue. And originally, what was kind of promised was we're going to get people that have a criminal record out of the country,
right,
ASAP. And I think, everybody, regardless of where you stand on politics, I think, everyone can kind of say, okay, that's a good thing for this country, right? It's if they're here illegally and they're committing crimes, let's keep our people safe. So there was really no, major pushback with that, no matter which end of the spectrum you kind of fall on. I think the problem is kind of becoming where it's kind of shifted to a focus of, if you are just in this country and you entered illegally and you entered without the right, check systems in place, then at that point, you're now subject to possible deportation. So now the problem becomes is you're dealing with people who have been here for, 10, 20, 30,
Have
40
families here.
years,
Sure.
have families, are working, are paying taxes, have children who are going to school here. And so then, at that point, it starts posing a problem of like, these are people that are actually a part of the community and are giving back to the community as well. So it's like, why are we picking them up from churches and schools and their places of
Sure.
work? And, the other aspect is regardless of your immigration status, everybody has the right to due process. And I think that's one of the other things where it's like, you just can't pick people up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There
Yeah.
people well, I guess in Nevada they haven't started picking people up. I guess there was an ice cream truck
Yeah.
that was going
saw that.
around
Yeah.
with that was just like a police emblem, but it said ice cream on it, so people
Like
thought it
ice
was
cream truck or
ice.
something.
Yeah, like they were disguising ice as an ice cream truck.
Right.
So I feel really bad for that ice cream truck driver because no one was buying ice cream from him for a while. But I think it's crazy. Like I saw just a big uptick of people just starting to like panic. Like what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So I think that's where the confusion comes in. If someone does feel like they need of assistance in the law help, what is the process to going to you and asking for help in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think right now, there's a lot of concern in the community because they're just not really sure how to deal with these situations. And the fact of the matter is like right now it sounds like there's like a lot of people being rounded up and sent home. But the actual reality of the situation is we're nowhere near the numbers of actually deporting people from the last administration, and definitely not anywhere close to Obama's numbers. So I think that there's a lot of noise, and I think that noise is kind of overpowering what's actually happening. But there are people who, are being targeted, and they need to understand that they have rights, and their rights are, you know, if anybody, particularly ICE agents, are to show up at your place of work or anywhere else, like other law enforcement officers, they have to have a warrant, and that warrant has to describe exactly what they're there for, and it has to be detailed. And without a warrant, you don't have to let them in. And then the
Good stuff.
other yeah, and then the other aspect is that you have the right to remain silent. You actually do not have to answer any questions. And then you also have the right to advise them of your right to counsel. And, I would have a lawyer's name on hand, an immigration attorney's name on hand. Yes, like Meesha Moulton. And you're absolutely able to, essentially revoke that right. So one of these things that's happening right now is they're confused, and they're not really sure what's happening. And then there's citizens that are being picked up too in the process. There's people that have actual paperwork, like legitimate paperwork, that are being picked up in the process as well and questioned. So I think that regardless of where you fall on the political scale, I think that one of the things that we have to do is you know, question the government and just not allow them to have open reign on, human rights violations, constitutional violations. And, we actually have to look at what's happening and not kind of turn a blind eye to it. Because what happens when you turn a blind eye to it, in my mind, is we're reading about it in history books 10,
Right.
20 years
Yeah.
down the line.
So they're called ICE agents.
Yes.
If somebody were to come up to you on the street and confront you, and they're an ICE agent, you're somebody that you've been on their radar, right? It's not somebody that you can just come up
They're not
and
just going to go up to a random
say,
person
show
on
me
the
your
street.
papers or anything like that.
So,
right?
that's one of those things that's kind of figuring itself out as we go along.
Really?
Because the process that we were told was going to happen is, there's a list of these individuals who have been identified as people who have a criminal record, potentially dangerous for some reason. So these are the people that are going to be targeted and questioned, possibly detained, and then eventually deported. But what we're hearing about is that there are just random people being approached, and there's random people being approached strictly because of the fact of how they look or the fact that they're speaking Spanish. And these are articles that we're seeing in the news on a daily basis. And We're hearing about full families that are US citizens being detained and then eventually being released, but they were just targeted for nothing to do with a criminal record. So these are these are the things that we got to kind of pay attention to and just kind of see how it unfolds. And I don't really think that the government right now has a foolproof plan of how they want these mass deportations to work. I think a lot of them are just trying to figure it out as they go. And it also requires state intervention in order for this to be successful. So like law enforcement has to get involved in some aspects, and some states are just saying, we don't want to have anything to do with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of comes together. And then the other aspect is you actually get these people rounded up and put in a plane to be sent back to their home. That country actually has to accept them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And so that's the other aspect of what we're seeing, where it's like, there's been a plane that was rejected in Colombia. And then,
Wow.
so it's like if you're sending them back to Mexico or Colombia or Venezuela or wherever they're from, that government has to be willing to accept them back.
So what happens if they don't accept them back?
So that's the other issue right now, right? It's like if these countries don't accept them back, then they're being detained, and then they're being detained in basically these like camp like situations. And I know we heard President Trump last week talk about 30,000 people being sent to Guantanamo Bay. And we didn't really receive very much information after that of like what those living situations are going to look like.
Sure.
All we know is that these people have a criminal record, but we don't really have very much detail about, what kind of criminal record are we talking about. So, these are the type of concerns that are going to come out, I think, over the next little while of like, okay, so if it's not as easy or as simple of just putting these people on a plane and sending them back to where they're from, then you're going to have to obviously keep them detained here, right? And then what kind of conditions are you keeping them detained under? And then for how long? And how much is this costing the taxpayer?
Yeah.
What about the children that are born here in
Yes.
the U.S.?
But their parents are getting told.
What happens to the children?
So that's another question that we're trying to figure out. And, he talked about the birthright citizenship.
Right.
And I think that's one of his executive orders where he's trying to eliminate the birthright citizenship that's in the 14th Amendment. And what basically that says is like, if you are born on American soil, then you are obviously granted citizenship just through birth alone. And that's been, in effect for hundreds of years. So at this point, that's being challenged, and he's coming up with different ways of challenging that. But that's not going to be an easy hurdle for him to pass, because you're amending the Constitution. The Constitution's put in place to provide stability to the country and to its people. So it's not an easy process to try to amend that. And so we're going to see that battle kind of unfold over the next little bit. And then, I always say, like I, was just mentioning a few minutes ago, these are the type of things, regardless of your politics, that you need to question, right? Like these are major changes to the foundation of the country, and things that affect us for years to come, and affect a lot of people that are currently in this limbo process of, you can't really go backwards and take anyone's citizenship away, but you can definitely affect people who are currently in that process of maybe being born to undocumented parents. And so where is their immigration status? So we're going to try to figure out how that's going to kind of all unfold over the next, honestly, I'd say probably next 6 months to a year.
I was going to say, did you have a rush of clientele come to you when this got all announced?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of people call and just, schedule consultations, just ask questions of, what's going to happen. But the reality of the situation is most of them are afraid to really do anything at the moment. Like most of them are afraid to even put in paperwork. And,
They're just scared they're going to put a target on their back.
Yeah, exactly. And, obviously as an immigration lawyer, like I'm a huge proponent of, protecting the borders, making sure that people are going through the process the correct way. And, as my parents were immigrants, I immigrated to the United States. So it's like I respect the process and respect protecting it. But then there's also, you have to take into consideration that there's children that were brought here by their parents. There's also people, like I mentioned, that have been here, law abiding citizens, pay their taxes. So you have to, it's kind of like difficult to say this one shoe fits all is the best process for everyone.
When somebody comes in to have that initial consultation with you, what's the first thing you really tell them?
So, it's one of those things where I have to listen to their situation. I got to listen to like what their particular scenario is and their story is. And then I really base it off of that. So, one of the reasons I became an immigration lawyer and I kind of expanded my practice past personal injury, because personal injury I've been doing for 10 years. And I wanted to do immigration because I kept hearing about these unfortunate situations and scenarios where somebody would hire an immigration lawyer and to do their paperwork for them. And this person would take their money, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, whatever this application is for. And these are not people that have money to
That money
begin
to spend,
with,
yeah.
right? So they are putting all their eggs in this basket. They are sometimes borrowing money from other friends and family, or it's basically their life savings. And these immigration attorneys would take cases that were, one, not winnable, just based on the situation alone, or two, just, file the application. And these applications take years sometimes, but then fall off the face of the planet in the middle of it. And these people just couldn't get a hold of their lawyers. So now they're in a situation where they're having to maybe start all over again, or something wasn't done correctly.
Oh.
So it's just, taking advantage of people that are already in a very vulnerable situation, and just maybe even putting them in a worse situation. And, the reality of immigration is most people are not coming to this country to commit crimes.
No.
And most people are really just looking for a better opportunity for themselves and for their family. And I think, if you have the ability to be empathetic and accepting of that situation, anybody in that scenario would do the same. Like
Sure.
try to escape, a country that maybe has limited resources or
That's
opportunities.
what my grandma did.
Yeah, or it's war torn or whatever the case is. So, of course, there's processes and policies in place to do it properly, but most of these people are not these, evil criminals that they're being painted out to be.
Where do you see it headed in the next year, 2 years?
I definitely have my concerns that we're not really headed in a great direction. I'm already starting to see some, uh, just issues where like I said, I could definitely see some constitutional violations. I could definitely possibly see some human rights violations happening in the future. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that we kind of are paying attention to everything that's happening around us. And like I said, not really, turning a blind eye to it, because these are the situations where it's like, if we're being told that thousands of people are being detained in a certain place or a certain camp or anything like that, like we need to be asking questions, and we need to know for how long, how much is this costing us? What's the overall game plan? Are you planning on detaining them for life? Are you going to offer them some kind of option of eventually immigrating over to the country, possibly doing it the right way? So there needs to be a lot of different things that we need to figure out, and a lot of different answers that, the government essentially needs to provide us. And so to answer your question, to be continued, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how it all kind of unfolds.
All right. So before we wrap it up, actually, Heather has a question for you.
Okay, so this is always mind-boggling me because I've actually never been into an accident, knock on wood. But I didn't know this, and you actually taught me this. Did you know that if you get in an accident, I think a lot of people are scared to call a lawyer because they're like, it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. The practice is if you get in a car accident, you don't take any money unless I win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't know that. And I mean, I got a little fender bender, but like, that's great to know. And I think that there's a lot of things that people don't know when it comes to like personal injury that I feel like you could teach us right now that are like helpful information. So if you get in a car accident, do you want to call a lawyer as soon as you do it?
Yes. So you want to call an attorney right away. You do not want to speak to the insurance company, no matter how nice they are being to you. And honestly, the amount of times I hear this from people where they're like, "Oh, the insurance company's being great. They're super helpful. They've been returning all my calls." And I'm like,
It's all part of their plan.
right. Because their plan is to try to essentially get you to take a small little offer, agree to it, and sometimes just agree to it verbally.
Right.
And as long as you're on the phone with them and they're like, does this sound like a good idea for you? Or would this work for you? And you're like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Most of the time, they're basically trying to say, okay, you've accepted the offer. And so I end up seeing clients where they come in and they're like, well, I'm just dealing with the insurance company directly. I'm like, you don't want to do that. They're not in the business of paying out money.
Right.
Okay. So you want to call an attorney right away so we can kind of help coach you through the process. And it's all a contingency fee basis. So it's like, yes, lawyers are, considered to be expensive, but we're not personal injury side of things. We're not billing you hourly or doing anything like that. We essentially want to win the case for you because that's the only way that we will also get compensated. So nothing out of pocket. You're not paying for anything up front. It's basically once we settle the case for you, then we take a percentage of that.
We should just take the bar to see who's smarter.
Oh, we should take an IQ test and see between the three of us and see who has the highest. Maybe even four of us. I'm sure Meesha will blow us out of the water. But between us, I'd love to take an IQ test and see who has the highest.
Definitely not me. Hashtag Vegas education.
Oh, that's awful. I'm sure you'll be.
I was
second.
trying to find an apartment too, like during that time while I was taking the bar exam. So that was like
That's tough.
really,
That's tough.
yeah, like a fun, because I had just moved here.
Yeah.
So I had just moved to Vegas.
Where did you live off of? I forgot. Boulder Highway?
Yeah.
She moved.
Meesha, what are you doing over there?
Well,
So-
no.
So basically what happened
Just
was,
people know where she comes from in the city of Vegas. You came from a family full of money that just said, "Here, go move to Vegas. Here's $1 million."
so I came from a very like middle class family. Parents were both factory workers, both immigrated to Canada from different countries. And then once I went to law school, I decided to move to Vegas,
Where'd you go to law school?
Michigan State. So
Very
it's
nice.
Spartans.
Go Spartans.
Yeah. And, I moved to Vegas and I had $3,000 to make it work. And I was engaged at the time. So I was like, we ended up at GVR. Okay. We ended up at GVR and I was like, just doing the math in my head. And I'm like, we're going to run out of this money really soon. So
Were you gambling at GVR? Is that what you're doing?
No, she was staying there.
we were staying
You're
at
staying
GVR.
at Green
Yeah.
Valley Ranch?
How much was GVR hotel rooms back then? Like $70, $60?
No, I think back then they were still like around 100.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, 120 or something like that at night. So basically what we did is like, 2 times in my life. One time from Toronto to Michigan, I packed up my car and
Just went.
And I moved, from Toronto to Michigan. And if it didn't fit in my car, it didn't come with me. And then I did it again after law school. We packed up the car, and if it didn't fit in the car,
It's not coming.
it stayed,
Yeah.
right? So we basically moved cross country and stayed at GVR while we're like, trying to figure out, okay, we got to get an apartment. Well, to get an apartment, you have to have a job. So, my fiance at the time, who's my ex-husband, he's looking for a job and I'm starting to study for the bar.
Okay.
And, I basically tell him, I was like, we're not going to be able to afford to live in GVR till we find an apartment. So I'm like online on Google trying to figure out like a temporary situation
Sure.
that's affordable for us, not knowing anything about Vegas. Long story short, I end up at the Seagull Suites
On Boulder
on
Highway.
Boulder Highway.
You can
Yeah.
only imagine.
Yeah. And stayed there for 2 months.
Wow.
2 months while I was studying for the bar exam. I'm
How much was Seagull Suites back then?
I think it was like, I want to say a couple $100 or something like that a week.
A week? Okay.
Yeah, so it
I'm
was
sure you
like,
had free HBO, free.
yeah, so it was
Showtime.
like, it was like a weekly rate. There was you know, it was a very, very sketchy area of
Yeah.
town. There was a
Interesting
lot of sketchy things happening.
I'm assuming it was.
You
hard to
needed
study.
Raised in Vegas Instagram back then to teach you that you should not have moved to Seagull Suites on Boulder.
Yeah, if I had raised in Vegas back then,
You'd be set.
I wouldn't have moved to Boulder Highway.
I'm sure it was hard to study and do everything you needed to do while living at Seagull Suites.
Yeah, so that's basically, how I studied for the bar exam.
Wow.
He eventually got a job, and then we moved into like a tiny little apartment out by like Silverado Ranch.
Okay.
And I got my first law firm job. And I was, even at my first law firm job, while I was waiting for my bar exam results to come through, I was making like $18 an hour.
Wow.
And it's just, it kind of takes me back to, first of all, I would never change anything. I think it's all been like a great experience, but
It's all part of the Meesha story.
yes, absolutely. So
You're
but
literally you're living the American dream, living week to week at Seagull Suites, and now your face is plastered all over the Vegas Strip.
It's, you know what though? I think like, I'm not trying to discard or discredit any of the other lawyers in town, but I just think like that's what made me like fall in love with her and always be like want to be on her side, is because she literally lived at Seagull Suites on Boulder Highway. She helped herself and got herself to where she is today. And I think that's such a great story
Thank you.
as someone who also didn't have a lot from my family growing up.
Yeah.
To be able to be like, I own my own house and do this, and I have a law firm. Like, it's hard to do that as a female. To do it all by yourself,
Mm.
I know how hard that is. And I just look at her and I'm like, how amazing that story is.
Yeah.
And like the things that she wants to do for the community, I'm like, yes, let's get on board. Let's do it. Because she wants to get in there. Like, we went and fed the homeless and like things like that. She wants to like help the community out that helped her. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, it's one of those things where it's like, that's why like I'm a huge proponent for just women in my industry and just other industries in general. Like, I just think that, if I have an opportunity to kind of get back to the community and help out, like I definitely do in every aspect. And, kind of what your question that you were mentioning before of like what kind of helps separate me from
Sure.
other lawyers is like, I think I was lucky enough to like be born in a family that like taught like acceptance and tolerance and empathy. And, I kind of carry those into like my practice. And I'm like super grateful. I feel like I'm in a position where I'm incredibly grateful to be where I'm at. And so I feel like I almost have like this obligation to like try to give back. And I've met some wonderful attorneys along the way, but there's a lot of just attorneys that have like that egotistical personality. And my boyfriend right now is an attorney too, and uh he's also a great example of just someone who's like always helped the little guy, just more from like
Right.
a criminal aspect. And it's like, so I kind of admire people like that who are just using their law degree to help. Yeah. And to like really give back to people who are, vulnerable and who just need it. And not just, you're never going to catch me working for like a corporation or an insurance company. I'll just put it that way.
Without naming names, is it true that not every Vegas lawyer lives in Vegas?
Yes.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
That's crazy.
I found that out recently and I was like, oh, okay.
That changes things.
Changes.
It changes how I look at those billboards. But we know Meesha is not going anywhere. She loves Vegas.
She's off of Rainbow and 215.
Her offices.
Yeah.
Her offices.
Her
Rainbow
offices.
250. She doesn't live there. Although technically she probably does probably live in her office. But yeah.
Yeah.
days a week.
There's moments where I definitely spend a little bit more time at the office
Sure.
than what
She will not be going to 4 days a week. Sorry, Misha's employees.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
don't think
guys.
we're gonna be going down to 4 days anytime soon, but I'm always looking for, ideas. I'm always open to.
It's like, now we're going to 6 days.
Now we're working overtime.
That's right. Now, if I can say anything about Meesha and her team, I've met her team when I helped you guys do the community service thing. And when we were out of earshot of Meesha, her team said nothing but great things about
Yeah.
working with you. And they weren't doing it just to stay in your good graces. They actually truly meant it. So what you do with your team, what you do for the community, it's admirable, and I love seeing it. And I'm so fortunate to have met you in the past few months because of your relationship with Heather. And I'm really excited to see what else you do for the Vegas community here. So this is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was super excited for what the future holds, and
Yeah.
glad I met some really great friends along the way.
That's right.
So yeah.
Wait, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Have you followed along the Blake Lively and Justin case?
Oh my God, yes. How much time do we have?
Wait, just really quick.
Ask Brian. Brian, how much time do we have?
Yeah.
Can we have like 5 minutes? Because I do have to ask something. Have you read that he just released all the court documents? Did you see that? He made a website.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and he released everything, and so that way you can follow along.
Yes.
There's a timeline of
Wait,
everything.
who do you think is going to lose this case? Just based off what you have now.
Blake, for sure.
I think Blake's going to lose too.
Yeah.
She's looking real bad right now.
Yeah.
Real bad.
I have
Cut
to
this into a
really,
clip.
I really have to give Justin and his attorney some major credit. They came out incredibly aggressive, and as they should, because he had a lot to lose, and he did lose a lot already. His talent agency instantly dropped him. And it's
Wait, I think Andrew doesn't have no fucking clue what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you
Blake Lively.
explain this like I'm 5.
Blake Lively and Justin did a movie together. What was it called? This is
It Ends With Us.
It Ends With Us.
Okay.
And then Blake Lively came out at the end of filming and the movie coming out saying, was it not sexual harassment of some sort? That was the first initial claim, right?
Yeah, so it was sexual harassment was the big one,
He
and
was accusing him of
she
sexual.
was
Yes.
accusing him of sexual harassment. And then, so I guess when you're on a set of a movie, they require what's called an intimacy coordinator.
Okay.
And, this intimacy coordinator is basically just supposed to be there to help make everybody feel comfortable, walk you through these intimate scenes.
Yeah.
And kind of help prep you for them. And, but she had originally claimed that she didn't really have access to one, or there wasn't one available at all times. But this man kept receipts, and then his receipts had receipts. And it was one of those situations where every single claim that she made,
He had a result for.
he had, basically he was like, well, was it that time that I offered you this and you rejected it here? And then, there was another situation where she was like, I was breastfeeding my child and I was exposed, and he came into my trailer, and he had a text message where she's inviting him into
Really?
her trailer. And
There was one part, oh my God, what was it? It was a voicemail that he left at 3 a.m. saying oh, I'm sure you're busy right now breastfeeding your baby. And at that point I was like, uh-oh, he screwed up.
Yeah.
But I guess she texted him at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And so that was why he responded to her at 3 a.m. is because she texted him at 2 a.m. And it's just crazy how many receipts that he has right now.
Why did he keep so many receipts?
I think because he anticipated that this was maybe going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, because I guess so, it was his movie,
Okay.
right? And then he selected her to play the part. And then she kind of came in and decided that she was going to start reworking some of the movie and reworking some of the scenes, and putting her input into the script along with her husband, who is
Ryan Reynolds.
big name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And originally he was kind of open to it, but then it just kind of came to a point where he felt like she was overtaking the movie.
Mm.
And then she wanted producer credits, and then the actual movie finally got done after multiple delays. I think it took years to make.
Yeah.
It finally got done, and they're having the opening night for it. And I guess she put him and his whole family into the basement. So And while her and Brian did like photo ops and everything like that, she just didn't want him to be on the red carpet at the
Really?
same time as her. So, and then he took pictures of him and his family in the
In the
basement
basement.
and released all those too. So
It's just
basically,
making her look horrible.
yeah. And so all of these old interviews with her kind of being like a mean girl
Yeah.
are coming out. Like
Yeah.
from when he
Ooh.
was like on Gossip Girl and
Yeah.
kind of bullying people. And
She also put out a text message that said like she was like Khaleesi,
oh my God.
the dragon from Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
saying that her dragons are insinuating Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds are her dragons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Just making her look really, really
Was
bad.
the movie any good?
No,
I
It
don't
wasn't even a good movie?
You
There's
know-
even speculations that she didn't even read the book before she did the movie.
I could see that. Like I you
Did
know,
that
I
hold up in the court of law?
I get a sense of entitlement from her.
100%.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. And, you know, partly probably because she is married to Ryan Reynolds and best friends with T Swift over
T-Swift?
there. Yeah. So-
Whose side would you want to be the lawyer of? Justin?
Oh, Justin, for sure. And I love the way the lawyer's been so aggressive. They've tried to place a gag order on him, and then they've just tried to get the whole lawsuit dismissed.
Wow.
And you know, because
lawyer's like,
they
"No."
see this like, you know, I think she was thinking that it was going to like be this like powerful lawsuit kind of adding on to the Me Too movement,
Sure.
but it's at the exact opposite. is what's
backfiring.
It's
happening.
backfiring her right now. She
Yeah.
claimed something that wasn't true just to get this guy in trouble, and now he's got receipts.
Well,
And
now I
he's suing the New York Times, which is like the best part because they basically took, you know, things that Blake told the New York Times
Sure.
and did an article on it and didn't really fact check much. And so he's suing them too as a result. So the whole thing is,
How much money do you think he'll make?
you know, I just heard recently that he's not going to settle. So that's the other thing. Like he's suing, I think he's suing like for like what? What? It's like a ridiculous amount.
I didn't
New York
remember seeing
Times.
amount.
I don't know exactly how much
He
it is,
shouldn't
but-
settle. He's winning.
And that's what I mean. Like, so they would love nothing more than for this to just go away.
Is this more engaging than the Johnny Depp Amber Heard?
No, that case was the best.
You know, I think that this is in the same realm.
Hmm.
I just think the craziness that came out of like Amber Heard.
She was nuts.
Yeah, that was like a different level. But you know, it's kind of the exact same case. Like when this whole situation happened with Blake and Justin, everyone's like, did we not learn anything from,
Sure.
you know, Johnny
Depp
and Amber? Because it was like Johnny was kind of drugged through the coals before people kind of knew the whole story.
And then he won.
And you know, I think that's like the balance of it, right? Is like real victims of sexual harassment and certain crimes should have the ability to speak up and should have the ability to access justice. But then the other side of the coin is, you know, these people who place false accusations on individuals, like those individuals who are being faced with these false accusations, like their life shouldn't fall apart
Right.
Yeah,
without
Johnny
going through
Depp
the
lost so
justice
much
system.
roles.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a
Yeah.
question though. Okay, last question. Promise. Sorry. Would you ever be an entertainment lawyer?
Yeah, you know, I've actually thought about that. I have really considered that because of everything that's like shifting and coming to Vegas. That's definitely.
I would love to see you as an entertainment lawyer.
That's a possibility. You never know where I'm going to grow my practice next.
I think it'd be so entertaining to watch her part of like a legal battle with some celebrities. I just think it'd be so good.
She'd be America's sweetheart lawyer. For
Yeah.
Sure. People would love her. Side note, Brian's been sending me notes during this, and he said it's a $400 million lawsuit.
Jeez, yeah. See, I knew it was a
$400
crazy amount.
How much are Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds worth?
Oh, they got to be worth more than that. Way more than that.
Holy shit.
Stay tuned. When the judgment gets decided, we're gonna have Meesha back on and kind of explain what happened at the end.
Yeah, we'll have to.
And what she would have done differently or what she liked that happened. We'll definitely have a follow-up on that for sure.
Crazy.
Good
Well,
stuff.
thank you so much. I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you so
you
much Meesha,
guys.
for coming in. That
Yes.
was great.
Yeah.
And make sure to check out Meesha Moulton. Where can people find you, whether it's on social media or your website?
So social media at Meesha Moulton Law, and then my website, which is also MeeshaMoultonLaw.com. And then you can call me, you can text me. So I'm basically on all platforms. You can find me on TikTok. You're not going to find any dances.
No
on there.
dancing.
We're going to get her to do a dance
But-
video one day.
Do you have a catchy number for your phone number?
Yeah.
It's not super catchy. It's 702-602-7500.
You can work
We
with
can
that.
make a jingle.
so-
Yeah. We'll
We'll make you a jingle.
let's figure
Well,
something out.
we'll have Michael Richter back on. He's going to make us a
Yeah.
jingle of that
Okay.
phone number for you.
Michael Richter will make you a jingle.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
I'm excited to see what he comes up with.
That was great. Thank you, Meesha. Make sure to check us out at heybighead.com. Every Tuesday, a new episode, and we will see you then. Ryan, got the music?
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.